Hello and welcome. The limited qualifier happened quite some time ago, but I didn't get to editing. So let's see how I did. First of all, you can see that I was going for a large color base, and basically my idea was, hey, can I play all 5 colors potentially, because I had a lot of fixing. Process was a bit scuffed, and I was a bit sad that I couldn't play white because there was no big reason to do so, but I realized that white is not the way, only later on. You can see that I initially identified blue and green as the colors that I really must play. I had a lot of fixing in green and also a bomb in the cradle hoof, and in blue I had a bomb in form of the dragon. Because of those two colors, I also knew that I would like to try red as well, because steamer cards were very good, and I had the mammoth creating sorcery, also the fight, also the big dragon, which was great for the start. Lag was kept in the deck mainly for the caustic exhales, because this card really did a lot of interaction and it was quite capable of dealing with any early threats. Even though the Teamer devotees are a bit of a trap, they worked quite well in this deck because they stopped the early aggression and they served as color fixing. I also had the monuments, which allowed me to deal with the colors too. Basically, at the end, I've decided to cut down on the non-synergetic cards. With such a large pool, it usually happens that you have to cut even cards that you would really like to play. In the first game, I was quite lucky, as I went against an opponent that wasn't really doing well. This is the only one of the 2 matches that I played in the qualifier, because I lost the second round and I have decided to just scoop at the spot. Now here you can see that early aggression in this meta can actually be quite strong, so that is also why the Teamer Devotee was an okay choice in my opinion. I had a very nice start with a lot of color fixing, and basically I was ready for anything. I didn't have any strong payoff yet, but I was ready to just trade resources with my opponent. But at that time I did not know that they would just break completely. So that is why I played the Devotee instead of playing the Monument. My opponent just completely bricked. This is not gonna be the first turn that they just fully pass without deploying anything. This is basically the reason why I won the game. It was very much visible that there was nothing for them to do. And you can see the power of color fixing. I just found one land, now I had the option to find another land, and I basically knew that I can do whatever and play any bomb that I'm gonna draw. My opponent once again just passed their turn completely, so I decided to just go for more pressure on board and start to deal. The dragon would be much nicer if they had any non-basic land for me to break, but it is still a 4-5 in the air, so it added pressure. The next turn I was also ready to use the monument and put on even more pressure. My opponent found something, finally, but the deployment on board was just too slow and they couldn't keep up with what I had. You can also see that I was quite unlucky, but my opponent too, on drawing lands. They were drawing none, I was drawing too many. But thanks to the monument, I still had a 5-5 on board and a lot of pressure. My opponent started to develop slowly, but I was basically ready for anything they could put down. The Treekin Severance was a great tool to have in the deck. Even though I had no white mana, or well, only a couple of sources, I still was able to deal with anything on their side. And with the removal, I was basically ready to start the pressure game. Tempo is real in the game, and you just need to really put your foot down in some spots. Here, I was sure that I can just end the game before they can play anything else. My opponent developed just a little bit, just some small creatures, but basically those were chump blockers, because I had a 5-5 and a 4-5 in the air and they only had 5 life. The bigger problem was the fact that I was about to draw the bomb of my deck, and the blue dragon basically ended the game super easily. It bounces to permanence, my opponent couldn't do anything at the spot, and this spelled doom for them. It was basically the game. With this dominant performance, I thought that I will have no trouble in the next game. Although my opponent bricked quite a lot, I saw that their Mardu deck was not the greatest aggro out there. The sideboards, I only made minor changes to add a 2-drop to be able to deal with their aggression. Hand for game 2 was perfect. I had all the colors I needed, I had all the fixing I needed, apart from black for Caustic Exile, but I drew the orb, so I was ready for everything. And even though they were about to start their aggression, I had the Teamer Devotee, which was a card that I really enjoyed in the deck. It was color fixing and it stopped the early aggression. I know it can't attack, but it's still quite nice. I'm not sure why, but it even made my opponent skip their attack step with a menace creature. I then deployed the orb and I was just ready to go to town. Now they finally attacked, but it was because they had a combat trick, which I was perfectly okay with trading. Even though I lost the blocker, they basically just put me down to 20 again, so it was completely okay. During my turn, I continued to develop and I needed more lands. I had a Cradle Hoof, so I was sure that I will be able to win the game via a big smash. I also kept that mana for a Caustic Exile, and my opponent basically deployed 2 creatures that I wanted to get rid of. So I started by getting rid of the mobilized infantry, and then I was sure to get rid of the flyer. I also started by deploying my own creatures, which I was not sure what to discard to. In the end, I decided to discard another kill spell. It was the fight one, because I still had the Narset Rebuke, which was the best removal spell that I could ask for. I used the second Caustic to get rid of the flyer, and then I was basically sure that my opponent couldn't really deploy anything meaningful. Even though this Vampire Nightmare, whatever it is quite dangerous, the Narset Rebuke exiles the creature, which meant I was certain this 3/3 flying lifelink death touch, but actually 4/4, was no issue for me at all. But the Blue Drake came back, and now I had a great opportunity to play it, make my opponent just redeploy their own stuff and then kill it, which meant I skipped their turn as well. I also gained 5 points of damage, which meant I started the tempo battle. My opponent did the logical thing and just replayed what I bounced, which was precisely what I wanted, as I was ready with the Narset Rebuke to destroy the flyer. Continued pushing damage, and thinking about it now, maybe I should have attacked with the 1/1 as well, as I could have just pushed them further and further to lethal. It became evident that my opponent had nothing that could really impact the board, and I was just 1 land away from playing the Cradle Hoof Behemoth, which basically meant it was GG's, and my opponent realized. So yeah, that was it. See ya!